The Fox Texas trio is back. Greg, Republicans are in the majority in the House starting in January. It's a slim number. Will this slim majority force both sides to work together?
Stephen, I'm going to preface my response by reporting I recently was awarded an unsolicited senior citizen discount. Now, that's only relevant because I've seen this scenario before. Should they find common ground? My answer, absolutely. But will we see significant bipartisan collaboration? Not likely. As long as zealots in both parties view compromise as weakness and reaching across the aisle as betrayal, gridlock will remain the order of business and, frankly, political survival, because those who break ranks will draw primary challengers. It is a sad and debilitating fact that even those with the inclination and skills to find progress-generating middle ground will face retaliation for doing so. And, Stephen, the razor-slim nature of the House majority will generate ruthless, iron-fisted discipline and little, if any, bipartisan consensus.
That seems to be expected, but you never know. You never know. Rudy, Democrats made headlines this week with new leadership, younger leadership. Hakeem Jeffries is 52 years old. Does this mean we'll see a new Democratic Party in the House at least?
Well, Stephen, let me say that, first of all, that I agree with Grandpa Grugan over there. I've seen this show before, and I think initially what this is all going to mean is a first year of turmoil. A lot of shouting against the GOP majority, a lot of name-calling, stomping, and accusations claiming voter suppression and civil rights violations. Essentially, a lot of what we have seen from State Representative Crockett here in Austin during the last session of the state legislature. Then in year two, I wouldn't be surprised to see a big internal fight within the Democratic Party, like the one the Republicans had and continue to have with Tea Party members. But this one is going to be between progressives and the mainstream Democrats. It's going to be one of those big family fights like, oh, teenagers and their parents, right, Stephen?
Greg, does a fresh set of eyes mean anything when, I mean, politicians are politicians in some people's eyes. Hakeem Jeffries has been in Congress for about 10 years. Does a fresh set of eyes even mean anything at this point?
I'm sure it will. I'm just not sure exactly how. My guess is the Democrats see the demographics and maturation of Gen X and Gen Z Americans as an irreversible force in their favor. So I believe they will double down on climate change, social equity, gun control, reproductive choice, and vastly expanding the role of government to fully fund health care, basic housing, and even higher education as fundamental rights. Of course, someone has to pay for all that, and therein lies the age-old choice. How much do you take from the haves in order to support and supposedly elevate the have-nots? So to answer the question, this new generation of Democratic leadership will be more liberal than the last, and that's saying something.
Let's see if we can get a short answer. This is for you both. Rudy, you're first. Jasmine Crockett, not popular with Republicans in the state of Texas, of course. Not even popular with some of the old guard Democrats in the state legislature. But is she the type of Democrat that is the new face of Democrats for Texas?
Stephen, swagger and attitude are important in politics, but it's not enough. It's why Beto is a three-time loser, why Democrats, their other big gun, MJ Hager, remember her, misfired twice. And it's not a money problem that Crockett claims that Democrats have a big cash donation election that poured in this previous election. They had the money, they targeted wrong, they chose wrong, they went big, they lost big. So it's the message. They've got to refine the message and stop being so extreme.
Oh, Stephen, given that the Latino share of the Texas population is 40% and rapidly growing, my guess is that's where Democrats need to place their short and long-term bets. In other words, identity politics will inevitably dictate a Texas Democratic delegation that's more brown and less black.
All right, to see this interview and any of our interviews, you can go to our station's YouTube channels.
And this conversation continues on our social media sites.
And join us next week as we hear from the two big dogs in the Texas legislature, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick and House Speaker Dade Phelan, as they telegraph differing plans for the state's monster $30 billion budget surplus. In the meantime, don't forget to tell us what you think the issue is.